Okay, next I want to talk a little bit about MIDI signal flow. How MIDI travels around within Live once it gets there. This is important, especially when it comes to effects. Okay, so I have a MIDI channel here. So when I play my little Novation Launch Key Mini here, it's going to come into this track. And the reason it's going to come into this track is because here on my inputs, it says all ins. That means it's listening to all MIDI devices that I have connected to this computer. Any of them are going to come in on this track right now. But they're also going to come into this track, right? The reason that I know they're going to route to this track only is because this one is armed to record. Okay? So that means that this is the only one that is going to accept the MIDI data coming in. Okay? And it's got cellos on it right now, which is great. Okay, so the MIDI notes come in and they go into whichever track is armed to record, whichever MIDI track is armed to record. Now let's look down at device view. So I have an instrument here, okay? This whole thing is this particular instrument. It's a long one. So we can see over here the dots, right? I think I've talked about these before. These dots mean it's data. It's just numbers going in, right? But on the other side of the instrument, we see an audio signal, right? That is audio data. So this instrument is converting MIDI data, the dots, to audio data, the sound levels, okay? So from here, our audio signal now goes out and then over to the main audio track here. You can see it coming in right there. And there it is, okay? Now let's go back here because I want to point out two more things. If we go to MIDI effects and we put a MIDI effect on this track, let's say arpeggiator. Okay, I dropped that on the track. You could see here, here's our MIDI dots and here's our MIDI dots, meaning the arpeggiator needs to deal with MIDI information. It can't deal with audio. So we can put as many MIDI effects as we want on this track, but they must come before the instrument. And Live's going to do that automatically. If I try to drag this out over here, it's just going to say no and put it back over there. So MIDI effects need to come before the instrument because they deal with MIDI data. Audio effects if I put an audio effect on this track, it has come after the instrument, right? Because audio needs to come in and audio comes out. So audio effects can go after the instrument because we have essentially an audio signal after that. It's kind of a cool sound. Okay, so MIDI effects before the instrument, audio effects after the instrument. But either way, at the end of this chain of stuff, no matter how many things are in here, this signal goes up to our main or our master fader, sometimes referred to as the 2-track. I like to call it the master fader. That's just what I learned, but all of the above are true. Okay, now let's start recording some stuff.